Hey everybody, and welcome to The Void, a show dedicated to filling the void between being an employee and becoming self-employed. Most people refer to starting your own company as taking the leap, as if they're blindly jumping off a cliff and into the unknown. This show is here to help you understand that it doesn't have to be that way. As always, if you like what you're hearing on the show, please do us a favor and help share The Void with somebody else who might be wanting to start their own business. Just as our businesses have grown organically and by word of mouth, we want this show to grow the same way. So if you see somebody asking questions about starting their own service-based business or who has recently started their own service-based business, please do us a favor and send them a link to the show. I'm your host, Mitch Smedley, and with me, as always, is David Hilton.
What do you think about changing the intro?
Well, so we're coming. Austin, what episode is this?
95.
95.
It's 95.
Can I also say something? My wife and I, we went back and watched some of the older episodes. There was one intro that was probably like 3.5 minutes long.
Yeah. It used to be a lot longer.
So we've come a long way.
We've come a long way.
I think we need to, maybe after 100, we'll change it up.
Well, we're thinking about doing a whole new scene at 100.
Yeah.
New desk layout, new intro, new everything.
Okay.
So
I like it.
Yeah.
It's time for a change.
It's time for a change. And we got to celebrate the 100 show milestone.
I mean, it's been like a year and a half.
I know.
God.
Yeah. It'll be a year and a half at 100 episodes.
That's what I'm saying. It's painful.
Yeah.
Just painful.
Painful.
We're actually
hanging out with me is pure joy.
We're not true. We're actually at like episode 123.
Well, we've burned a couple. We've burned a couple. We've lost a couple.
Well, the reason why my wife and I went back, because we were like, we wanted to see that moment you're talking about where Marcus is like, aren't you guys going to introduce me? So we were trying to go back to find that because I thought it would be funny to listen to.
Like the third episode.
It's in one of the core episodes.
See, like we listened to all of them, but we're thinking maybe that one. It's alluded to because there's one where you guys were like, and we have Marcus here.
No, there's one. Like, I mean, I still see it on Spotify because I'll go back and re-listen to the core episodes from time to time.
How long?
And he'll be like, "Hey guys, in the show, it's like, hey guys, do you think it would be a good time to introduce me?"
He had 2 beers.
Oh,
yeah. It's the one time we let him have a couple of beers.
He had 2 beers and lost his shit.
Yeah.
Just like he couldn't function. Like, what happened to this
We were
dude?
listening to the intro, so that's probably it. Like, we thought it would be
No.
It was into the show, like 20 minutes.
It's 20 minutes into the show, and he just like screeches to a halt.
Yeah, he just goes, "Hey, guys, don't you think you should introduce me?" Like, we're in the middle of a conversation.
Behind the camera is Marcus. Yeah. Hi, Marcus. Well, all right, back to what we were talking about.
Well, we were just like waiting in line at CVS, and like the line is like long, and so you're like, well, let's just go see if we can find this in the podcast.
So you're telling me you have not listened to all first 9 episodes, Austin?
No.
Oh man, but no with conviction.
I think
that wasn't even no. That was no.
Yeah.
Man.
He doesn't like self-growth.
Job requirement.
Yeah. No shit.
Wait. Didn't somebody just get their LLC last week?
Yeah, and you know what? He probably could have done
Sounds
it by
like
himself.
they might need to learn how to listen to those first 9 episodes.
Well, I mean,
I'm pretty sure all the information you need to get that LLC is in those first 9 episodes.
Yes, but I like David. David's a really good coach, so.
I think by coach he means, like, I called him and I said, "Okay, give me your information," and I did it and then sent it to him.
Yeah. You know, one of the most.
That's a mothering thing. You just do it and then.
One of the most popular short form video like clips we have is me talking about how I was that over-pleasing manager that just did shit for everybody and I thought I was really effective.
Yeah, and you weren't.
That was just you, just now.
I knew it.
Instead of helping teach Austin how to do it, you just did it.
Well,
the stuff
in my defense, like, I was at home and I had extra time and I was like, man, I have no time. I was like, I'm calling him. I'm sure he's not doing anything. I'll just call him and I'll just do it right now.
Well, the stuff that you're doing, it wasn't like, it was really just knowing like what website to go to. It wasn't any like sort of thing of like, oh, I'm going to learn this cool idea and it's going to show me through business. No, it's like literally just go to this website. Like what website, you know?
I think we need to, speaking of, I was watching them the other day. We probably need to reshoot 1 through 9.
You know, we could.
They're we could leave the old ones, but they're pretty rough.
Yeah, what we should do is like redo 1 through 9, but tell people like you can either listen to episode 1 through 9 or 101 through 109. It's the same shit in both. It just depends. Do you want it when we were good at podcasting, or do you want to hear our trash?
There is actually
People will probably watch both. They'll be like, "Oh
Maybe.
man, this is trash," and then just go to 101.
Yeah.
there are some times where I do like some of the good parts of the first episodes where it may have felt too robotic, but like that structure was nice, because there are some episodes you've done where it really gets off the rails and it's just like it's kind of like it can go either way.
You should see some of the ones we burned. We had a 2.5 hour podcast that we burned.
Wow.
Because it was 2.5 hours of rambling. It was with a guest. I'm not going to say who it was. It was with a guest, and we had 2.5 hours of rambling.
Dude, he just rambled
and
for
we
like
were
2 hours.
We were only like a fifth of the way into the story he was trying to tell.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh. So then we sped through the rest of the story, and then I made the judgment call the next day. I'm like, we have to reshoot that because that was bad.
He came back though.
He came back and did it again.
Yeah,
and the second one was really good.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like I've kind of learned too. Like I did like one testimonial, and like there's some people that you just say, "Tell me your story," and they won't stop for like half an hour.
Right.
But there are some people where you kind of have they'll run out of steam.
Right.
They'll cover their whole story in like that amount of time. We're like, so tell me about this aspect.
Yeah.
We got an hour show, and you just told your story in 14 seconds. Like, I need a little bit more.
Yeah.
So Target,
Did you see they lost $10 billion of market cap?
I followed it long enough to see, like, Danielle actually. So usually I catch this stuff like through the grapevine. Hey, if you like what you're hearing on The Void and you want even more info, we just started a mentorship program specifically for trades professionals to start their business or to get their business to an incredibly healthy position. So if you'd like more info, click on the link in the description of this show. Danielle actually got me on this one. She was like, I was at Target today, and they have like a whole Pride section.
It was Pride section for kids.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
It was
They're
like
kids.
Pride towels and Pride bathing suits and Pride everything.
And it's
Yeah.
not on the back. It's like I think if you walk in on the mobile, like the pickup section, like the right side of Target, it's like right there. It's,
Well,
you
a
see
lot
the
of them,
clearance.
have moved all their shit. But we're not getting into a debate about transgenderism and all that crap. We've debated that 100 times.
Right.
Stop pushing your propaganda or whatever you think is best, and your job is to make money.
Yeah.
Their stock went from 160, I think, to like 130.
And it'll bounce right back. Is the weird, like, there's no, like, I guarantee you there are people drinking Bud Light today that a month ago swore they would never drink Bud Light again.
You know, you say that, but their market share is down.
It's still down
26% month over month.
I know.
It's not it has not bounced back.
I know.
And the real thing is, so like, it's easy to boycott Bud Light because when you go to the liquor store, like, literally
There's other options.
all you do is go to the door next to that one and you can get Miller Lite or Coors Light or whatever.
Right.
The problem with Target is a lot of people shop there for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But you can also go to Walmart.
Yeah.
or
And you
Amazon.
can also get shit on Amazon.
That's the thing is, it's like you can't be as out there with your like propaganda as you used to be, because man, like, especially if you're a store, like a retail store, like just go to Amazon or order online.
People,
at Walmart.
and the real problem with it was, like, people on the left that are super liberal, but they're like, you can't be doing this stuff for like kids and in front of kids and, you know, all this other crap. And it's like, even those liberal parents are like, dude, you got to draw a line somewhere. What are you doing?
Right. Yeah. I don't know, that this one's different for me because, like, as a parent, that shit's everywhere, and it's your job to shelter your child from that. So the only way it affects your kids at Target is if you allow your kids to see it and you allow your kids to explore that, like, section of Target, right? Like,
Well, it's in the front. It's not like, are you blindfolding them when you walk in?
No,
like,
I mean,
let me hold my hand over your eye.
they're seeing it, but they're seeing 1,000 things every day, right? They're seeing somebody, like, they're seeing a very obvious homosexual or transsexual in public all the time. And they're raising questions in their minds. They may ask you something about it, and that's your job as a parent to navigate that accordingly, right? So, like, it's not like they forced your kid to buy the stuff.
No.
They offered it as a thing, and kids aren't shopping anyway. Like, kids aren't walking to Target and buying their own swimsuit. Like, parents are buying the shit for the kids. So it's, even though it's made for kids, it was still aimed at the money spending parents, you know? So by no means am I standing up for Target or anything else. I think that America is on this heightened sense of awareness where any public entity that does anything in support of any of those hot topics gets flamed up as if they're trying to push an agenda. And really, it could just be that they were trying to like have a wider vision, if that makes sense. Like appeal to a wider audience. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, but I don't buy it. Like, I don't.
And I'm not necessarily trying to sell that. I'm just like, I have a hard time thinking that this was Target pushing their agenda on children, because children aren't Target's customers.
No, but I
Parents
think they were
are.
pushing their agenda.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
And,
yeah.
and before, like up until like the last couple of years, like people on the conservative side would just kind of like let things roll, like, you know, whatever.
Right.
You know, do whatever you want. But then when people started pushing their conservative views and were saying like, no, we're not going to put up with that anymore and all this, well, then everyone on the left went nuts. Oh, no, you can't do that. Get your own internet. Get off our Twitter.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, it's like in your face all the time. And now it's finally, I think they've realized, oh, you know what? We can do the same thing that they were doing. And so let's just do that.
Right.
If we don't like it, we're not going to spend our dollars on it.
Right.
Like they've realized, okay, we have to get dirty too. If we want people to realize that we actually have an opinion. Because I think what had really happened is everyone on the left was yelling so loud and then no one on the right was yelling at all, that it just kind of seemed like the left's point of view was taking over, and that's how the media made it seem like everyone thought that is what the country wanted, because everyone else was just being quiet, minding their own business.
Yeah.
Until they started getting axes thrown at them, and now they're like, fine, you know what? You've been pushing everybody around for so long, and you've been trying to get, you know, all your shit pushed through, and we've just been kind of not saying anything. Enough's enough. Fuck off.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, you know, to the detriment of the country, this has happened, I think, because all that's done is create a deeper divide, right? By both sides, I would say. And it just creates a wall.
I think the more you watch any media at all, the divide gets deeper. Like, I've turned out so much media in the last year that it takes a long time. It's not like the day I turned off the media, I thought this way. But like after a year of actively not watching the media, you end up realizing the world is 10 times better than what the media tries to portray it to be.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
And you realize that the issues that are on the media are largely only on the media. Now, that's not to say they're not real, because they are. But if some kid gets beat up for his homosexual or anti-homosexual views or displays or whatever, that's a hate crime, right? By definition, it is.
Yeah.
Well, if that kid got beat up for those views in the 60s and you just didn't hear about it. But now, because of the media and social media and everything else, that kid gets beat up and you hear about it all the time.
Yeah, and you think homophobes are getting getting beat up every day.
Well, and then
homophobes,
then of course the media makes it, you know, let's run a stat. We need stats to back this up. We can lie with statistics. So let's see how many cases of this are on the rise. And then
if it goes
while they're
from
telling you about
1
it,
to 10, it's a 1,000,000% increase.
It's increased by 1,000% in the last 20 years.
It's only 9 people.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Statistics to basically be however, you can pump as much drama into statistics as you want.
Right.
Whether it be numbers or percentage or whatever.
Yeah. But we as humans have we have a really interesting way of catching glimpses of things and then fastly forming a very firm opinion on a glimpse, right? Danielle told me about the Target thing. And the way that Danielle was telling me about it, she was also, because she didn't have kids with her when she went, and she was over there and she's like looking at it. and it says, like, on the tags of the swimsuits, it said gender neutral. And so they were trying to insinuate on the tags of the clothing that it was, gender neutral. Well, my immediate reply was, it's the same thing as like, my mind just went blank, like asexual. What were the clothes
when
we were kids?
Yeah,
Clothes that could be worn by boys or girls, either which.
I think it may have been asexual.
Unisex.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's the same thing as like unisex. They're just they just changed the word.
Well, it's not unisex because it's a woman's suit with extra room for a penis in it. Like that's that's not unisex. Unisex was anyone can wear this and no one will be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Like that's unisex. It was like a pair of shorts.
She was talking about like shorts and t-shirts and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's not gender neutral. That's unisex.
Well, and
it is what it is.
And if you put gender neutral on there, you've pissed off all of the little boys that want you to say, no, I'm a woman. It should say woman's on it and I should be able to wear it.
Yeah.
So
there's no winning.
No, there's not, because those people are insane.
Yeah.
They're just fucking insane.
Yeah, there's no winning in that whole thing. But that's what I'm saying. Like the more you listen to all of that, the more you get trapped into it and you think it's a bigger deal than it is.
Yeah.
Ironically, Danielle was at Target like a couple of days later, and she said, yeah, they've moved it all to the back of the store. They must have gotten a whole bunch of heat for it or something.
Well, one of the main, I don't know if it was a board member or CEO or whoever, like came out. Nice. Get your shit together. I don't know if he like came out and made a statement, but basically he was like, you can't have that in the front of the store. Pull it back. We're not pushing this on people. We're just offering it to customers that want it.
Right.
But for some reason, certain stores and certain whoever was like, nope, it's right here in your face.
Yeah.
And that's what people really get pissed about.
Yeah.
Like, I don't go in to Missy B's downtown with my cross and beat people in the face with it and say, no, you are... People are just tired of shit being pushed in their face.
Yeah.
They're tired of leftism. They're tired of conservatives. They're tired of politics. They're tired of everything just like literally beating them to death all the time. And they're literally saying, look, it's fine. We don't care. Put it in the back of the store.
Yeah.
You want to offer it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's dumb.
You know what's funny?
It's just so dumb.
We were, when I was doing the personal interview for the big contract that we're getting with a local county here close, they were asking like any final things, any other things that you want us to know about your company before we make our selections.
You just start saying, no, I'm not on a podcast. No, I do not. Just like, no.
This was right after we bought the Ford Lightning for our fleet. And so I'm like, yeah, actually, we just bought our second electric vehicle. We have a total of 6. So now 30.
Stop right now.
Well,
why would you bring that up?
Because it's Johnson County.
So you thought it was going to be a benefit to you?
Well, yeah, I'm going to use it as a benefit if I can.
Okay. That's all. I just wanted clarity.
Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, so now 33% of our fleet is all electric.
Stop with the statistic manipulating.
Right.
33%.
I mean, it is, right? 2 of 6.
Yeah, and one of them's sitting down here collecting dust. Hasn't been driven in 8 fucking months.
If they would get their fucking program together, it'd be getting driven every day. But
oh, shit, that's
you should have
funny.
seen them. Like, as soon as I said that, there was like 9 people on this panel.
And 7 of them.
7 of them
boners.
start writing away like crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? That like I was just kind of joking, but okay, you know.
And that's the thing.
So,
like, what as someone in government, these people are in government, city government, right?
Yeah.
What fucking difference does it make?
It doesn't.
It makes zero difference.
Zero difference.
And it shouldn't, right? And
it doesn't change the cost of their product. It doesn't change anything.
It doesn't change the work that you're going to do. It literally has no weight on anything.
Yeah.
Yet they're going to feel that it does have weight.
Well, we've been selected. So yeah, I mean,
no, I'm saying that's improper use of government funds.
You would think if they allowed that
did it just for that,
yeah,
like literally you're being swayed by
I'm going to say
something that shouldn't be swaying you.
I'm going to say that it had more to do with our nearly 600 Google reviews and 5.0 rating, that we're going to take care of their customers really well. I'm going to say that's the most important thing.
First off,
my track record with this program.
First off, I know that's why you have got the program, but the fact that people are ate up with that bullshit is just like
their pencils started smoking.
Like, what are you doing? It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's so dumb.
It's weird.
Oh man, I just about brought up something I'm not going to bring.
Hey, you want to get on to topic 2?
Yeah. What else you want to talk about today?
Next 2 topics, we haven't even talked about our topics yet.
That's okay.
Next 2 are going to be compensation.
I'm not even sure anybody's fucking listening.
I know. They probably not.
Or have we checked the stats?
If you look at the 5-star reviews we have, I'd say only 14 people are listening.
Can you give a 5-star review to a podcast?
Absolutely.
On what?
You go to Spotify.
Or like on Google?
I'm going to pull it up.
Or
no,
to Spotify
Spotify and
allowed?
iTunes.
Oh, okay. Hey, chicken fuckers. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a 5-star review. I had no idea.
We have 22 5-star reviews.
22. First off, thank you to those 22 individuals. The rest of you, come on.
Yeah.
Help us out.
One of those was mine because I just submitted another 5-star and it did not go to 23. So
Okay.
with the amount of plays we get every week, we can't pull more than 22 5-star reviews on Spotify. Come on. Come on.
The Tradewind guys are going to hear about it. I bet there are 5 of them. 8 of them,
They're
or
probably all
8.
22 of them. Some of them guys got multiple accounts.
Yeah,
You
that's
never
true.
know.
Hey, you know what? I wore my Jorge Diaz plumbing shirt to Layla's soccer tournament last weekend.
Yeah.
Had 3 Mexican guys come up to me and go, "Where's Diaz? Is that close here?"
Yeah.
Because they're looking for people that are, speak Spanish and
We get-
are in that group all the time.
Man, we get
And I was
messages
like-
all the time in Spanish on our Facebook page asking if we speak Spanish because
Yeah.
apparently there's a big need in the area. If you're in Kansas City and you speak
Yeah,
Spanish,
and I
you
told
can
one
fire
of them,
off a plumbing company.
Byron, a real good friend of mine. He was asking me about it. I said, no, he's in Mississippi. And, I gave him the 411. And he's like, well, why are you wearing a shirt up here? I said, because he sent me a shirt and it's a nice shirt. And
Louisiana,
what did I say?
Mississippi.
Oh, did I? Well, I told him Louisiana because I told him he's right by New Orleans.
Yeah.
He
so-
might
I just misspoke here.
do a sister company up here.
He
There
should.
you go.
You know
You
what,
should. If-
You know what you should do? You should hire Byron.
Okay. I don't know who he is.
He works in construction. They do construction cleanup for new construction,
Yeah.
but he's from
Oh.
Mexico.
Yeah.
And his English is very good too.
Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe. Just got to teach him how to plumb. All right. So we're going
Shit
to talk
rolls
about
downhill. Paydays on Friday.
We're going to talk about compensation, and we're going to talk about the 4 levels of business.
Okay.
All right, so compensation. In the service industry, the trades industry, you kind of have, I'm going to call it 3 different compensation strategies. You've got hourly, where you're just paid an hourly wage.
Yep.
You've got commission,
Yep.
or some version of it, where you don't really have any guaranteed pay, and it's all on performance. Or you have hybrid plans. So hourly plans, your earning potential is pretty capped.
Other than overtime.
Other than overtime and other than just working yourself to death, your earning potential is pretty capped.
Well, you say that. I mean, as an employee, if you're being paid by the hour and show that you're a stud and move up through the company, I mean, it's only capped while you're at that position.
Yeah. Yeah, you could move up into management and into bigger roles in leadership and all of that stuff.
And you could be
Yeah.
making some serious check.
You could. Commission.
You're talking
is-
commission only.
Yeah, straight commission. And there's a couple of different ways to dice the straight commission thing. Like our company is piece rate, but technically it's classified as commission.
I wouldn't. Yeah, you're right, but yeah, you're not piece rate. Piecemeal. That's not really what you are.
We are.
I mean, sorta.
So like every task that we have has an amount of time associated to it, and the guys are paid for that time.
But they can make that time up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they get to pick that time. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
they get to choose the time.
Like straight piece rate or piecemeal is like, oh, I did a rough in on this house and they classified it as a 4 and that pays $1,000
the
when I'm
manager
done.
assigns that, right?
Yeah. So it's a little different.
Our pay is very similar to like an automotive technician. Only an automotive tech, you have a service writer that sells the job, and you have an automotive tech that has to do the job for what it was sold for.
Yeah.
Our guys are in control of selling the job and then doing it.
Yeah, there's no middleman there.
There's no middle, right?
Yeah.
And then you, so that's like ours is like task pay. And then you've got like straight commission where the guys are making a percentage of the total money they bring in. And then you've got the hybrid plans where maybe you're going to take a reduced hourly wage and then make it up in in some reduced commission.
Yeah.
So they're trying to do like a hybrid plan there.
Yeah.
So
and that's real popular, like in heating and cooling service, because
Yeah.
you don't know what jobs you're going out to day to day, whatever. And then if you kind of like you did as the sewer inspector / salesman / installer, you go out and work on a call and the compressor's out and you immediately have the opportunity to sell a system.
Right.
And then you're making your hourly wage plus that, even though you're not the guy that's coming back to put the system in.
Right.
That's where that really works. Plumbing's different though.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that in plumbing, I imagine.
Well, I mean, you can get to the level in plumbing where you have sales guys and installers.
No, I meant it being a hybrid.
Oh, yeah. I've done the hybrid thing before. So I was at one company where I designed a pay plan where the guys got an hourly. Well, like we ran both. We ran hourly and commission, and we paid you whichever was more.
At the same time?
At the same time.
Seems like a lot of paperwork.
It was actually really simple.
I worked at a place like that.
Yeah, we ran the math both ways all the time, and then we paid you whichever was more. Now, if your hourly wage won the battle, and you basically, if your hourly wage was more, that means that you underperformed for the company that week, right?
Okay.
You didn't perform enough.
I get it, but I wouldn't say it that way, but okay, got it.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Underperform's a strong word, but it's true. Like your hourly wage is set based off of your expected performance. And so if you're on that dual plan, like what we came up with, where you're commission or hourly, and your hourly wage is actually worth more than your commission wage, then that means maybe you're making a little too much money on your hourly wage, right? So we would remember the difference. And then if it happened 2 weeks in a row,
would they get fired?
No, we'd have a talk with them and be like, "Hey, your hourly like this is 2 weeks in a row. You should be winning on commission." And we wanted the guys to win on commission because commission was unlimited earning potential. And if they're 2 weeks in a row on hourly, that means they're getting relaxed and they're just relying on their hourly, right?
Yeah.
And so
the employee inside of me is like, "Man, fuck them guys."
Yeah. 2 weeks in a row, we'd talk to them. 3 weeks in a row, we would reduce their hourly wage.
That's a good way to get punched in the parking lot after work.
It worked.
Or hit with a fucking pipe wrench.
I think throughout that at that time, I had 13 employees.
How many of them did you actually drop their wage?
2.
Okay.
Both of them ended up quitting. But let's be honest, if they weren't matching on their commission wage...
Is this about the time your house got robbed?
No. Funny. But no.
Okay. Hey, dude, you never know.
So in both cases, what I had a plumber that was like, "I've been doing this 25 years. I'm worth $40 an hour." Okay, if you've listened to the show at all, you'll know that I am in huge disagreement with the whole "I don't care how long you've been doing it" thing.
No, it's what you put out.
Yeah, what is your contribution, right? Yeah. So the guys that are like, "I've been doing this 30 years, I'm worth top wage." Bullshit. What do you do?
Yeah.
Because I can find a 5-year guy that'll run circles around you.
Yeah.
And he's doing more than you, so why shouldn't he be paid more than you?
Yeah.
Right?
I used to get crushed.
Yeah.
I mean, I would get crushed. Like, I had been doing heating and cooling for like 4 years, and I was laying out all the jobs and doing homes and making jack. And then, I mean, just like there was a split at the company. There was all kinds of stuff. And then I'd go to jobs and guys would be like, "Oh, that guy's a jack shit. I wouldn't listen to anything he said. I've been doing the same thing."
Yep.
I'm like, dude, I'm fucking better. I mean, what do you want me to say?
Yeah.
Like, do you want me to go slower so that you look better?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What?
Why would I reduce my performance to make you look good? Step up your game. Get to my level. Right.
Yeah. And then, and after I rough this house in, I'm gonna go home and shower. And I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna pound 27 beers. I'm gonna come here tomorrow and I'm gonna fucking do it again.
The benefits of being 20.
Man, I miss it so bad. I drink 8 beers. If I drank 8 beers after roughing in the house, now I'd be dead.
Yeah.
Like, it would kill me. I'd just have to lay down.
Yeah.
But no, I get that. I mean. And that's kind of like the lazy mantra of, like, and when you have a bigger company, like, you just get those guys. It's not like they come into the interview process and go, "Well, I think I should be you know what I mean?" So they're working there, and then you find this out 4 months later, and you're like, "Man,
Yeah.
How do we get rid of this clown?
And so, yeah, that's what both of these were. But when I instituted this pay plan, I had 2 guys that swore they were worth more than they were actually contributing. And of course, they're full of excuses too.
Yeah.
Oh, this job was different. You're gonna have these jobs where it's just like this. Yeah, it's every fucking job with you, right?
Yeah.
So the pay plan, it was actually highly effective because it got the 2 guys off the team that we wanted off the team.
Yeah.
And at that place, I didn't own that company. I wasn't allowed to just like not that I do this, but I have the logic of like if you have somebody that shouldn't be on the team, you should just fire them immediately because like if you don't see a way out for them. You're not doing the guy any favors. You're not doing your team any favors by keeping an underperformer on your team any longer.
No, they're dragging your team down.
They're dragging your team down, right? And
morale or financially.
One of I got this advice 10, 15 years ago. I can't even remember who it came from. But they were telling me, don't ever drag your feet on firing somebody because wouldn't you hate it? Like most of the time you're dragging your feet on firing them because you feel bad, right? Because you've been fired before and you know what it feels like. And so
I've been fired one time and I loved it.
Well, in general, you've seen people get fired, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so you feel bad and see you're dragging your feet. But wouldn't you hate it if you didn't fire that guy this week and you waited for 3 more weeks, but unbeknownst to you, you fire him this week and his dream job opportunity lands in his lap 3 days later? But if you didn't fire him this week and you drug him on for another 3 weeks and then fired him, now he missed a lifetime opportunity. So, guy told me that, and from that moment on, I've been very quick to fire people if I don't see a way out.
Yeah.
And it's not ruthless. It's not anything else. Like, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. It's actually for their best interest. The faster I get them out from under me, the faster they have an opportunity to find their dream job. So... Yeah. Now, whether they do or not, that's on them.
I could see either side of the coin on that one.
Yeah. I can tell you from my experience, I have never seen somebody turn a corner. The moment I've considered firing somebody, they have always ended up either being fired or quit. I've never actually seen somebody turn around.
Really?
So, yeah. Now, I haven't had people like where I can see that realistically happening in life is maybe if somebody has an addiction issue and then they kick the addiction issue and now they turn out to be a rock star employee. Or somebody's having problems at home and they fix that and now they turn out to be a rock star employee or whatever the case may be. But in today's day and age, you can't blend those two. You can't fire somebody because they have an addiction issue and you can't keep somebody on specifically because they have that.
Well,
right?
I mean, technically no, but you could not have work.
Well, yeah. And that's how that happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Damn
People
right that's how
get
that
benched and they get starved and everything else.
Yeah.
I had one employee, again, this was at a bigger company where everything was like very PC and by the book. And this guy was just not cutting the mustard. And I brought him in.
Cutting the mustard. I mean, you just come up with these old dad sayings. I'm like, we're the same age.
Yeah.
Like, where does he come up with?
Where did he get it? And so at this company, and it was real trivial. We had these like timesheets that we had to fill out, and you had to mark your time right, and you had to do this certain kind of math problem on the back, and it was handwriting and all. I mean, an old antiquated system, obviously. You wouldn't have to do that now, right, with all the digital stuff now. But this guy was like getting that problem wrong all the time. And so every week, the accounting office would have like hours of extra work trying to figure out what he was doing, right? And so
doing it on purpose.
I brought him in and I'm like, dude, like I'm looking at your time thing. Like numbers are like he had perfect handwriting. Like some of the most beautiful, like he looked like an architect, an old school architect where everything was written. Perfect handwriting, but sometimes numbers are backwards. Sometimes numbers are flip-flopped.
He was probably dyslexic.
Yes. I swear he was, but I can't assume that in a equal opportunity.
Did you have to ask him?
So I had to ask. I'm like, do you have any, like, I can't keep you on the team with this kind of performance. This is a very basic thing. This has to be right. If this isn't right, I can't keep you on the team. This is costing the accounting department hours of work. However, if you have any kind of learning disability, then I can get you into a program and keep you on the team, and I can get you in a program where we can find some way around this. And he stood his ground and he said, no learning disabilities. And he says, I bet you're thinking I'm dyslexic. I'm not dyslexic.
He was
and I'm like,
dyslexic as shit.
man, you're dyslexic and you're just afraid to admit it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like we gave him, like that was the legal stance at that time, right? I was being advised by the HR department. I have to handle it this way and everything else. And so we ended up letting him go because we couldn't keep him on the team.
Yeah.
And so ironically, he made it super easy on us to let him go. So
did he just come in and be like, you know what, Mitch?
No,
fuck you.
I'm
leaving.
He had 2 jobs on him one day. Both jobs, one job was a 4-hour job. The next job was a 4-hour job. One job was on floor 33 of a high-rise building downtown. The very next job was in the same building on floor 34.
Oh,
same
man.
customer, different tenant.
I'd have
right?
killed you.
So
I'd have drove back to the office and ran you over with the truck.
Oh no, they load up all their tools in a cart, spend all day on the 33rd floor. It's, is what it is. Well, in between his jobs, he took a personal errand in the company vehicle, even though his jobs were literally 10 feet apart from each other vertically. He took a personal errand in the company vehicle. He drove 27 miles away.
Holy cow.
To a hotel that's known for hourly rates. And he was there for like 17 minutes and then drove back to the job. And so like in the days that we're contemplating on letting him go about this whole timesheet issue, this popped up and we're like, oh, well, that made it easy.
Did you come in and be like, dude, the truck's got GPS, bro?
Yeah.
Like, did he say, oh, they do?
Oh, no, he knew. But
he was doing it all, but he was like, man, screw these people.
Yeah, it was what it was. So, yeah.
Man, 17 minutes. I mean, that's not great.
So, under the we've deviated a long way from compensation. I mean, proud of him for 17 minutes, right?
No, I'm saying that's short.
Short for who?
Okay, I know where I stand in the world. I just learned something about myself.
17 minutes, I'm cheering. Yeah.
Oh, race to the finish. Ready, go.
So, in the compensation world, you have hourly, you have commission, and then you have the hybrids that are between the two. Where hourly is going to come in handy? Anybody in training is probably going to be hourly. Anybody who is doing medial tasks where they can't really impact the outcome, it's pass-fail, it's probably going to be hourly. So in the service world, that may be a tough analogy to point out there, but like if you work in an assembly plant where all you're doing is connecting bolt 6 to nut 7, or stamping this or pushing the button when the things line up, or whatever the case may be, like that's probably hourly wage. It's pass-fail. There's nothing you're going to do to improve the system there.
Well, and like if you work at a small company too, and you do literally every task imaginable for a plumbing company, for instance, or a heating cooling. Say you're in the heating cooling industry and you run service. Sometimes you change equipment out. Sometimes you build duct. Sometimes you do new homes. Like that would almost be impossible. Like,
because if you're the catch-all.
Yeah, if you're just really... And I don't mean catch-all. Like, if it's a small company, that's how a lot of the small companies are.
Yep.
Like, we do everything, and we got 3 guys, and they do everything.
Yep.
Like, you just have to... They're making hourly wage, but it's high.
Yeah.
Like, they're in the 1 to 130 range.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's where that comes into play a lot, too.
Yeah. And your commission guys, those are going to be in sales. Those are going to be guys that have a direct impact on moving the needle, right? In businesses, the needle is revenue. Yeah. So if you have a direct impact on moving the needle, you're going to be in some form of commission pay if your employer actually gives a shit about you. Like, I don't like guys being in a position to move the needle and their employer paying them an hourly wage, because they're making that same hourly wage whether they move the needle or not. So for one, the guy's uninspired to move the needle. But for two, your employer's kind of handicapping you, because if he gave you a commission piece and then your performance improved, then the company performance improves and everybody wins.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're in sales, you're going to be in some form of commission pay some way. Right? Yeah. Whether it's a percentage of the sale, whether it's a percentage of the labor, whether it's piece rate based on, like, let's say you're selling equipment, maybe it's piece rate, this piece pays this piece pays that, whatever the case may be, you're going to be in some form of performance-based pay.
Yeah, and and that's because people really do well with a little bit of pressure. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like it's in all of our DNA. Like if you were just allowed to do the bare minimum, you'll almost always do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
But if you're pushed just a little bit and then have a carrot, you are almost always going to go out there and go get it.
Right.
It's just human nature.
Well, and it's not good on society to give people guaranteed base pay.
No.
I mean, that's literally the welfare system, right?
Yeah, hence the Democratic bullshit system on the left.
Topic 1 was politics. Stay off of politics.
I'm sorry. That's my only political statement in the whole thing.
So then you've got your hybrids. And this might be where you were kind of alluding to with that catch-all guy that's kind of doing everything. That guy might be a hybrid. And so a hybrid would be like a guaranteed hourly wage, but then an incentive if they help move the needle. Right? So like you have now this is also for the guy whose job is not always to move the needle. Right? Maybe he's doing installs. Well, installs don't move the needle. Installs just need done. Right?
Yeah.
Now, your needle's not going to move if you don't have anybody to install it. I get it. However, installs don't move the needle. Sales moves the needle. And that's not saying sales is more important than installs. However, nothing good happens until something gets sold in business. So, if you want something good to happen in business, you have to sell something first and then start figuring out a way to install it, right? So you might have installers that are making some kind of piece rate based off of the equipment or some kind of base wage, and then maybe a carrot or an incentive if they install so much equipment each week or whatever the case may be. Your sales guy is usually going to be making commission, and your installer is either going to be making, like if he's a younger installer that's in training, it's usually just flat hourly. And then if they get to a level where they can actually impact the overall bottom line by how much they're installing, then you might get your installer even into a hybrid scenario.
Yeah, or if an installer is in the on-call rotation once they get so far along that then they're running calls on the weekends or whatever, and then they sell big jobs on the weekend. They're getting their installer pay plus their bonus
Plus their bonus,
commissions.
yes.
So,
Yeah. So the reason we're wanting to talk about commission or compensation is you need to know these things as you're looking at hiring people, because you need to know the attributes of the types of people that are going to go after those types of rates, right? Like, I want the top 10% of people. So the top 10% of people, whether they admit it to themselves or not, the top 10% of people want commission pay because they want unlimited earning potential. Like, I'm not saying my guys do this or not, but if my guys were to ask for guaranteed hourly pay, they may think they want that, but they don't. Because, like, that's pretty much just resigning yourself to a fixed income at that point. Well, you know what I mean?
It's almost like just taking a pay cut.
Yeah, right. They want the ability to go have a badass week or a badass month and make some badass money. So, but as you're hiring a trainee, you're not going to bring a trainee in and give them some kind of compensation, or some kind of commission, right? They don't have the ability to move any kind of a needle.
No.
They're just soaking up knowledge and providing some grunt work. So, which, by the way, Mason's first day on the job was today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So
did he do anything stupid?
No, he actually did badass. Like, and I'm not saying that from like the dad that like anything my son would do, I'd say he did badass. No, like if he fucked something up, you'd hear about it.
Oh, I know.
No, like he did badass.
Good.
We're backfilling this big project. And so I had him running the backhoe. He's 14. I had him running the backhoe, and I mean, he did great. So
it's not rocket science.
It's not, and this is
be aware of your surroundings.
Be aware of your surroundings. Like,
one.
Video game background helps out a ton because the ability to learn what controls do what
instantly.
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna say, so most of what we were backfilling was with the front bucket, and I'm gonna say after about 10 passes, he was 80% proficient at what he needed to do, and then
that's pretty quick.
I mean, all totaled, we probably took 500 passes today. And so by the end of it, the ground started getting really uneven. So and the trees started closing in on us.
Yeah.
So it got really difficult towards the end. We started at the easiest end, but I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Like, he could totally end up becoming one of our excavators for our company. Pretty sweet.
4 years to go.
His mom, my wife, had to come pick him up because he had a doctor's appointment to go to. And so he was finishing up. He even told me, like, he saw her coming down the drive. And he's like, oh, that's Mom. She's here to pick me up. I'm like, you got 5 more passes. You got to get to that tree before you're done. And he's like, okay. And so while he's finishing it up, I go talk to her. And I'm like, this kid's fucking good. And I'm like, don't you dare tell him I said that. He doesn't need that going to his head, but he's fucking good. So.
Hey, little excavator.
Yeah. And then the neighbor of this job, the guy on the next property over, hits me up. He actually hit me up a couple of days ago. I just had time to go look at it today. He's got a big old pond on his property. Pond, not big. I mean, it's 15,000 square foot pond.
Yeah.
And it's all silted in. It's years and years and years old. It's only 3 or 4 feet deep in the center of it. And he wants me to he wants me to break the dam and drain it.
Yeah.
So that
You'll need a track hoe.
No, I'm going to do it with the backhoe.
It's got to dry for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
For you to use the backhoe.
No, I'm not going to dig the pond out. I'm just breaking the dam and draining it.
Oh, okay.
And then he's going to let it dry for all summer.
Yeah.
And then he's going to have somebody come in and do all the dirt work to. He's just having me break the dam and drain it.
If you've got a track hoe, you could just take the dam out, and then they'll dig them out, and then that stuff will just dry on the sides.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep. So yeah.
There
So
you
while
go.
Mason's out there working, I'm out there procuring more work. It's pretty badass.
Aren't you proud of yourself today?
Yeah. Proud of my son is what I'm proud of.
Proud of yourself today.
Yeah. So
Oh man.
last topic. All right, so you've newly started your company and you're trying to pinch pennies. However, you don't realize the biggest thing that's hurting you right now is not gathering all of your information into one spot and making it super efficient for you to use. So the answer is Field Pulse. It gets you off of paper tickets. It gets you off of all of that crazy office work at the end of the day and reconciling all that stuff. And it lets you organize everything with ease. It puts it all into the computer. It actually puts it all into the cloud. So it's not even putting it on your computer. And it lets you organize your customers. It lets you organize all of your service calls. Heck, it'll even route you to your service call. And the best part is, even after all of that, you'll probably realize about a 100% growth in your business just in the first year of using Field Pulse. So if you'd like to check out Field Pulse and see what great looks like, click on the link in the description of this show. The 4 levels of business. We've talked about these on the show before, but we're going to dive into them a lot today on what you need to master in each level. So the 4 levels of business are: you start out as an employee, and then you become self-employed, and then you become CEO, and then you become an investor. And so, high-level overview. We've all been employees. We've all had jobs, right? Some of us that listen to this show still have jobs, right? So an employee, you're working for somebody else. You don't really have any stake in any kind of company. Well, then when you start your own company, you become self-employed. In other words, technically, yes, you own the company, but you also own every job within the company, and it's like the worst position to be in because everything lives or dies by you now. Back when you were an employee, you could take the weekend off and other people would cover your ass. When you're self-employed,
It's all you, baby.
it's all you.
Yeah.
Everything's on you,
Oh,
right?
I know.
So
Oh, I fucking know.
CEO, that means you, like, the full-blown CEO is you have a board of directors and you have other managers within the company and you are literally piloting the ship instead of doing all of the crafts on the ship.
Well, you don't have to be. It doesn't
You're
have
calling
to be,
the shots.
It doesn't have to be just like that, though. Like, you're kind of a CEO, sort of,
Yeah.
but you're still out on the job sometimes.
Yeah.
You know-
I'm transitioning between self-employed and CEO.
And even if you had say you had 3 more employees, say you had 4 more employees, you would still be in the CEO position, but you wouldn't have a board of directors.
Right. So where I call myself right now is like president, right? I always laugh.
El Presidente.
I always laugh whenever people file for their LLC. Like Austin wouldn't do this, but
I may have
Like,
already done it. I don't know what to say.
no, I know he wouldn't do this.
I put owner of Smith Media.
No.
That's what
Puts
that's true.
CEO and founder of Smith Media, and his company has one person, and it's him.
Yeah.
Like, what are you the chief executive officer of?
Yeah.
Like, you're not, right? So that's what I mean. Like, people like to use the CEO word long before it's worthy, right? So you kind of transition through like president and then CEO.
Well, and that's like one of those things. People just hear phrases and numbers and
They don't even know what it
they
means.
have no idea what any of it is or
Yeah.
what it means. And I'm not bashing people that don't, but like,
I kind of am. Like, learn your shit. Like, you look fucking cheap whenever like I started my own business. I'm printing T-shirts with a Cricut machine in my house. I'm a CEO. No, you're not. You're self-employed.
It does look completely stupid when you get a business card and it literally says CEO, owner, founder, and then you're like, oh, how many employees do you have? And you're like, oh no, it's
None.
just me.
Right.
And then you look at the card and you're like,
I print designs on T-shirts.
like
and
you
I
just
send them.
immediately
Now-
know I'm not saving this card. I'm
Now
throwing this away later.
there's no shame in printing designs on T-shirts. Like, there's some killer money to be had there. Like, I'm not knocking that thing at all.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is
Don't be
you're not a
douche about
CEO.
it. Don't be a douche about it.
Yeah, you're self-employed. Just call it for what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Zuckerberg or Bezos goes around being like, "Hey, my name is Jeff. I'm the CEO of Amazon." Or,
Well,
my name is Zuckerberg.
They should.
First off,
They
Mark
do, and-
Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos both do, and they're both douchebags.
Well,
I mean, they're billionaire douchebags.
but that's what
that
they
doesn't
do.
mean
They're
anything.
literally chief executive officers, right? So that's, they're officers of companies. They have other officers at the company, and so on. So then after you move through CEO, where you have a board of directors, you move into the investor level. And in the investor level, you're not even CEO anymore. You're literally just owning the company, and you have a CEO calling all the shots within the company. And the company is big enough that you can just take dividends from the company.
And there's lots of different ways that happens too. Like I know guys that have sold their business and they are now 15% owner. Like they took a big check and then they're 15% owner and then they are on a board.
Yep.
But the board is like 4 people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so they kind of have a say and they help guide and, hey, this is how we've been doing it all these years.
Yep.
And then, but they're just 15% owners after their big fat check they got.
Yeah.
Like that's one way that you're an investor.
That's an investor.
In your,
Absolutely.
In your company.
And there's probably some legal kind of reasons around too, like where Mark Zuckerberg would have to announce himself as CEO if he's ever doing business with anybody else. It's like,
I think if
you
you're
need to
like
represent yourself or something.
depending on like what type of corporation you are, this is, to be honest, this is a little above my head, but I think if you're an S-corp and you have a board of directors, then you actually have to have what they call a CEO and you have to have a
Yes.
quote unquote president, and there are a certain hierarchy that has to be employed that the board of directors wants when they found that company. Like there has to be X, Y, and Z. So yes,
For sure when you're a
but
C-Corp.
if he doesn't go out and say that's what I meant, not S-corp.
Yeah,
thank
you said S-corp.
Yes, thank you.
C-Corp.
But yeah, there's some truth to that.
Yeah. So another nickname for all of that CEO type stuff is like a C-suite level.
Yeah.
So if your business gets large enough that you need a C-suite, what a C-suite would be like chief executive officer, chief marketing officer, chief design officer, right? So then if you picture like a tree with roots and forking along the way, you've got the like head of the company, chief executive officer, and then underneath them you have all of the other officers of the company, and then underneath them you have their management teams, and then underneath them you have their the teams of people that are doing the work.
Yeah, the
right?
day-to-day.
The day-to-day operations. So what we're going to talk about in this section is the things that you need to be focusing on mastering in each one of these levels. So if you're an employee of a company and you have not started your own company yet or anything else, and you're just listening to the show because you like Dave and he's badass, then listen in here.
I mean, I am badass.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now,
if
I don't know
people
about
are-
likable, but
You know what? I'd probably say I'm more likable than badass.
maybe.
Like I have a pretty good knack, like for making people like me when I want.
Tell that to Ford.
I don't think you mean Ford. I think you mean Visor.
Either which, but
Actually,
we all have our-
we've never talked about
We're
that
not
on this
gonna talk
show.
a-
We're not going to talk about it now.
We're not going to talk about it now, but
we will talk about it eventually.
We are going to talk about it, but I want to do one thing first.
There's
so.
a lot of things that we're going to talk about there, and it's about holding true to your values and who you are. But
Yes.
so as an employee, The
We
two
just did a
things,
left-hand turn, didn't we?
the two things that you need to master as an employee are sales and marketing.
You know, I want you to keep going with that. But what we talk about a lot on the show is if you're stuck at work and you know you're going somewhere else, but you can't make that jump, and you need to suck up all that information, like these are the things that are the most important.
Yes.
Is sales
And marketing
and how to run a team. Like if you can be in a management position where you're running 3 or 4 guys underneath you, that is extremely beneficial.
Yep.
You have to be sucking that information up. So don't just take off and hightail it out of there without being prepared or without gaining the knowledge you need before taking the next step. So go on with what you're saying. Sorry.
Right. So as an employee, you need to master sales and marketing. And the reason why, like, picture sales and marketing, the next step after employee is self-employed. Well, so all of these things that you're doing get you to the next step,
Yes.
right? So sales and marketing. Imagine trying to be self-employed and you don't know how to sell or market. That would be pretty treacherous, right?
Yeah.
So mastering sales, mastering marketing. To master sales, you need to master one-on-one relationships with people. You need to understand what people like, what makes them tick, what makes them want to like you, what makes them want to buy, right? You also need to master marketing. Dave's cracking bush light number 2.
I was trying to be quiet.
That was actually really good. That was really quiet.
Over it. Yeah.
Oh,
Mitch just
I still hear
ratted me
it.
out.
So you also need to master marketing. And this doesn't mean you need to ask your boss to be on the marketing team, but this means you need to be paying very close attention to what type of marketing works and what doesn't. And you're going to do things that you don't get paid for a long time before you actually get paid for them, right? So
Yes.
as a sales guy, as an employee sales guy, you need to be recognizing what it takes to gain customers. And even though you might not like the company you're working for, gain that company a couple of customers. Learn what it works, learn what doesn't work. Like, you'd rather learn all this on another company's dime than when it's your time to shine, right?
Yes.
So, like, if you're a sales guy at a company right now and you're listening to this show, talk to the neighbors of the customer that you're at. Talk to both their neighbors and see if you can make a sale at their house. Try to create a marketing opportunity and create a sale within the neighbors. Yeah, your company might get an extra sale. The company you're working for might get an extra sale. The knowledge that you gain from that is invaluable. Like, you can't even place a value on that knowledge about learning what it takes to make a sale from somebody who wasn't intending on even shopping that day.
Yeah. You've literally drummed that up and finished the sale and then went on to work back to the company and said, "Hey, I got this job. We're going to do this, blah, blah, blah." You have literally fabricated money out of thin air.
Yeah.
Is what you've done.
Because that's what self-employed is.
Yeah. Because
Right?
you have to do it every freaking day.
So
Good luck.
take the opportunity to learn how to do that while you're working for somebody else, then before all the risk is
And
on
I do
you.
want to say, as far as marketing goes, like if you're at a bigger company like what Mitch was at, like I didn't get to see a lot of this. We just did small time stuff. I wish I could have had like that experience. So as far as marketing goes, like where are they spending their money on ads? How are they spending money on ads? How are they manipulating the price? Or how are they coming up with the amount of money that they decide they're going to spend on marketing?
Right.
You know, every market is different. Every city is different. It's just like hiring somebody. You know, your wages in one city are $25 an hour, and the other one, the top's $15. Try to suck up all that small, minute, detail bullshit that you don't want to ever have to pay attention to. But if you're going to be out on your own, you're going to need to know.
Yeah.
So get in there and find out as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have any of that experience when I left.
Right.
Like all I had was little stuff to bank on.
Yep.
Like Mitch came out and he's like, "No, I know it all, bitch."
Yeah.
And it benefited him greatly. So if you are thinking about leaving, suck that stuff up.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it 7 more times in this episode probably.
So,
Get it.
So the next one, and we'll probably spend more time on this one than any of the others because this is where most of our listeners are at, self-employed. So you started your company, but you're wearing all the hats, you're doing everything, right? Now, it should be, as we just talked about, it should be a prerequisite that you already know how to do sales and marketing. Because if you don't know how to do sales and marketing and you're self-employed, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah,
That's
going to
be hard.
It's going to be steep.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of trial by fire.
So if you already have sales and marketing down and you're now self-employed, the 2 things that you need to master here are hiring and training.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 things you need to focus on. How do you hire people that can sell and market? How do you train people that can sell and market? Like this list goes both ways. Hiring and training sellers and marketers, right? That's what you're doing at the self-employed level. So the easiest way to hire people is look for leaders that you can develop. The idea is that you're working yourself out of a job. Because if I work myself out of a job, that frees me up to go do something else to benefit the company. And now somebody else can do that job. Like I love working myself out of a job.
Yeah.
I love working myself out of rights and responsibilities. I love passing that off onto somebody else. That doesn't mean like, negatively passing off, like punting to somebody else.
No, it's positive growth when you're passing off.
Yeah. Like the people that we have answering the phones can do it 10 times better than I can. I fuck it up every time I do it. But I had to learn how to do it enough to teach them.
I won't say anything.
Well, I'm just saying. So
well, and that's,
I've got plumbers in the field that are like 10 times better than I am. Now, I may have a tad bit more plumbing knowledge from time to time, but some of the guys sell better than I do. So
yeah,
that's awesome, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
So
can I add one thing to your list there? What were your two things?
Well, so on hiring and training, what you want to do is you want to develop leaders. You want to give them a clear path of what it looks like to work through your company. And in that path, you want to put a plan in place where they'll eventually have a team to help them achieve results. Okay? So, in other words, you're going to hire a team of plumbers, and that path is going to be one of you will eventually be the manager, right? Or one of you will eventually be the service manager as we grow beyond plumbing. Maybe we bring on HVAC or electrical or whatever, right?
Or have multiple managers.
Or
one manager manages 12 men.
Yeah.
The next guy up will be one of you also, and that guy will take the 12, the next 12 or the next 5 or whatever it is.
5 or 6 is really a good blend there. Like it's hard to manage 12 people directly.
It depends on what they're doing.
It does.
If they're crews of 2, it's not.
Yeah.
That's just 6 crews.
Yep. So, but you want to give them a path of what it looks like to get to that level at some point. So what were you going to add?
I was going to add processes. Like, so in that owner, self-employed, where you're hiring, firing, doing all that kind of stuff, like you need to be able to have all of your processes in place before you can even get to CEO.
Yeah.
Like when you get to CEO, you can fine tune those things, kind of like you're doing now with your VA and all that stuff. But in that learning stretch there, you can figure out, okay, once I get to 3 guys, I have to do this.
Yep.
Now that I have 3 guys, I have to have a handbook.
Yep.
I have to know how to handle insurance. I have to know how to handle retirement. I have to know how to handle vehicle purchases. Like all of those different processes that you have to have in place before you really take off and have a lot of employees, I feel like are at that level.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
So processes kind of comes in on the CEO level.
Yeah. Like right before you get there, man, you got to...
Well, kind of right as you get there.
Yeah.
So in the other... So we're gonna recap processes here in a second. CEO, that's where board of directors, right? And the 2 things you need to master there are you need to master branding and leadership. Part of leadership is processes. That's being a good leader is laying out clear processes for your team.
Yeah.
So,
but you need those processes in place before you have 10 guys hired.
True.
Well,
Well,
you know what I mean?
Depending,
and that's why there's a blurred line between owner, self-employed, and CEO, because you have to kind of be doing all of that stuff as you're making the transition.
Yes. Yeah. So as the CEO side of things, you've already mastered hiring and training, and now you're leading people to also master hiring and training.
Right.
So they're doing your processes, right? You're also mastering branding. Branding is different than advertising. Branding is a lot more timeless. When you think of branding, you think of things like, Coca-Cola and Nike and things like that, where they just have a very established brand, right? And then once you've mastered those, now you're moving into the investor level. And at the investor level, you are largely removed from the day-to-day operations of your own company. And now you're just kind of reaping the rewards of being able to kick back. You've grown your company large enough where it can pay your annual salary in the form of dividends and returns on your investment. And you have other people doing almost everything within the company. And at the investor level, what you need to be mastering is tax planning and financial planning. because now you're at a level where you have enough money coming in where you need to learn the smart ways to handle that tax-wise and the smart ways to, as my financial guy states it, minimize your relationship with Uncle Sam. And then you also need to understand financial planning to where your money can go to work for you. And so the easiest way to look at these is like, as an employee, you're not ready to move to self-employed until you've mastered sales and marketing. As a self-employed individual, you're not ready to move towards CEO until you've mastered hiring and training. Now, processes could be part of training. Processes could also be part of leadership. Can kind of go both ways.
Yeah.
Right?
And we talk about it on the show a lot. Process is kind of one of those things that you're constantly evaluating.
Yeah.
And can constantly be changing.
Yep.
Because as you grow, you'll have to have other processes in place.
Things change all the time.
Yeah, you'll decide, I had this in place and I don't like it. I don't like that the guys have to come in at 6:30. I don't like that the guys that's just a small stupid example, but things will always be changing. And for those of you that are laughing like these guys aren't CEOs of big corporate companies. No, we're talking about service-based plumbing companies.
How is your guy going to know how to run a service call unless you have a process to tell him how to run a service call?
Yeah, and listen, the difference between a CEO for a 10-employee company and 100 isn't that different.
No, it's really not.
You have a lot bigger tree.
It's a couple of managers.
Yeah. So if your tree starts out with you, then 2 managers, then 4 guys, all that instead of having 2 managers in a bigger company, now you got 8 managers.
Yeah.
But the tree after that is still the same.
Yep.
And it's not a tree. What is it when it goes in reverse? See, I didn't go to college. I forget these things.
An organizational chart is what that's called.
Look at you go.
Yep, an org chart. So, so you're.
You could be lying to me. I would have no fucking idea.
Dave's like, okay.
I'm not. Dave, it's called a penis chart. Say it.
Penis chart. You have to have your penis chart in place, people.
So, as a self-employed individual, you're not ready to move to CEO until you've mastered hiring and training. And as a CEO, you're not really ready to move to the investor level until you've mastered branding and leadership.
And the ability to not micromanage.
Yeah.
Like you can't be an investor in a company and
that's
and do
leadership.
That.
And micromanagement is the antithesis of leadership.
And I think people when they think about stuff like this and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to be an investor in my own company." They don't really understand that your company doesn't have to be huge for you to just be an investor in your company. Like if you have 2 great managers that are running your whole show and you're paying them out the ass and literally all you are doing is say you have a minimum pay. Say you're making your minimum pay is $2,000 a week and then your profit structure is off the end of the year you get a check. And you're only having to come in once or twice a week. You're basically an investor in your company. You're just kind of trying to make sure that, X, Y, and Z is going on. The few people I know that are at this level, that's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They're not huge. They may have 10 or 15 guys or 10 or 15 employees total. I'm talking answering the phones, every bookkeeping, everything. And they're only going in once a week.
Yep.
They're getting their check every week. And then they're going in once or twice a week just to kind of talk to everybody, make sure everything's running smoothly. They're not really a CEO, and they're not really 100% investor, but that's kind of what I would say the norm is in our business structure in the service industry.
It can be.
Kind of like there are like obviously, so the 2 big companies you used to work for, the owners of those companies are 100% investors.
Well, so the owners have sold it all to their kids. They're gone and out.
Well, like we were talking about earlier, they got their big check, and then they're probably on the board, and they're still probably getting 10% or something like that.
At this point, they're both gone. Like gone. Yeah.
They've sold completely.
So a lot of times when an owner sells a company, they'll sign an agreement where they agree to stay on for 2 or 3 years to help the transition.
Yeah.
Which
has to happen in the service industry.
And then they're out. Like out.
Really?
Gone, 100% gone. And a lot of times when they sign those agreements, they're signing some sort of non-compete clause for 5 or 10 years where they won't start a competing business in that market for 5 to 10 years. So one of the things you'll see is like, I've seen this before in like the turf business or the lawn care business where somebody will sell their lawn care company. They'll stay on for 18 months to 3 years or something like that to help the transition. They sign a non-compete. At the end of their 3 years, the non-compete starts. And so then typically your non-compete's like 5 years, 3 to 5 years. So 6 to 8 years after they receive their big payday from selling their company, they are now able to go in and start that
if they
very
want.
similar company back over again if they want, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times what they do,
By then they're retired. So
well, a lot of times what they do is they don't wait the 6 to 8 years. They go ahead and start a competing company, but in a different market. Because you can go do that right away, right?
yeah.
So
Usually there's a radius. Like
Yeah.
it's within 50 miles or 20 miles.
you'll go
or
to a
whatever.
different market and start it right over.
Yeah.
And you're not competing with the people that just bought your company.
Yeah, and then you're trying to
And-
get them to buy that company too.
And then once you get that one grown, you go back to the people that bought your last company and you're like, hey, look at
Hey,
this.
I didn't tell you, but I also had this other company I started a long time ago.
No, you just tell them flat out. I started it whenever I was under your non-compete, but this was out of the radius, and I got this shiny thing over here. Do you want to
Yeah.
buy it too?
Exactly.
So that's a guy that's mastered sales and marketing, right? He's selling companies.
And they can just repeat
Yeah.
the process over.
Yeah.
That's a guy that doesn't sleep. He sleeps like 4 hours a night.
It
Just
dep-
all he does is work.
It
work,
sounds like
work,
It all
work,
depends
work,
on how
work.
good his processes are. So I have a buddy of mine that he's got 3 locations with his company, and his processes are so durable. Like, this is fucking cool. His processes are so durable that about 6
What
months
does he
ago,
do?
he does like home remodeling and storm damage repair.
Oh, yeah.
So a
that's
lot of
taken off.
roofing.
That's taken off right now.
Yeah, a lot of roofing, a lot of siding, a lot of stuff like that. But he'll also do interior remodeling too. And the Kansas City is his 3rd location. He's been in Kansas City for about 6 months.
Get his processes.
And
I got some money.
I was talking to him over the weekend, and he literally, as we were talking, we're standing next to his Lambo. And
Must be nice.
it's, as my son, I don't know a lot about Lambos. My son tells me it's a Gallardo or a Gallardo, which means it's twin turboed. And it's pretty cool. Sounds pretty cool. It's pretty badass. Well, anyway, he has dreams and aspirations of buying a Koenigsegg.
I don't even know what that is. Is that like a Bugatti?
Kinda, but
You know-
sportier.
You know how much a Bugatti costs just to maintain?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Why would you waste that much money?
I'm in.
I would love to buy just ground. Like I can buy this ground and it appreciates, or I can buy this Bugatti and have to put $10,000 wheels on it every other year.
You're
No
assuming
thanks.
somebody's spending their last dollars on the Bugatti.
No, I'm assuming it's a dumb way to spend money.
Depends.
Like how, like you could just buy 5 Ferraris and give one to all your friends. You guys could go race them. Wouldn't
Here's-
that be more fun than owning the Bugatti?
Not necessarily. So
Nah, I'm out.
how a lot of these highfalutin people pay for their exotic cars, they do it through the business and it's 100% tax free.
Yeah.
They pay for them because the exotic car gets them into a network of people that they can then sell their products and services to that network of people. So I know quite a few people that have bought exotic cars just to get into the exotic car clubs so that they can now sell their services to the people within that exotic car club. And
Do you
so
think we could sell our trade wind services to people that are in an exotic car club?
no, they're probably well beyond needing our services.
I know.
Well,
that
Ferrari-
doesn't. So that doesn't help me.
Yeah.
Well, Ferrari's a little different. They have to approve you before you can buy one.
Not
of
if
their
it's
cars.
used.
If it's used, you
Yeah.
can. But here's the weird thing with Koenigsegg is you cannot go buy a used Koenigsegg on the public market. When you buy a Koenigsegg, you buy it from them,
You probably sign a thing, that
and you
says
sign
have
an
to sell
agreement
it
that
back
says
or whatever.
if you ever want to sell it, it has to go back to them. And they refurbish it, and then all used Koenigsegg's come from the manufacturer. Pretty sweet. But he has a plan mapped out. It's as good as gold. It will happen. Timeline is a little bit up to question. Like, he's got goals for the timeline, but it's timeline dependent. But he is so calculated. He has plans where he will buy a Koenigsegg once his business does a certain metric here in Kansas City.
I've lost track of the point was.
The point is he's that calculated with everything.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but ultimately, like, he's in the business of basically popping up locations and starting them with great processes and getting them to certain levels. And then once they get to certain levels, it's self-sustaining. He brings in a CEO to manage that location, and then he can go fire up a fourth location somewhere else.
And then he just checks in once a month.
And then he just checks.
I bet his process is like the CEO has to send him updated something monthly. Probably is what it is.
Probably daily. But like he's heavily involved in KC because he's getting it off the ground. His other two locations run fairly autonomously. And his other two locations, if I'm not mistaken, his other two locations are doing about $10 million each a year in revenue.
Must be tough.
So I'm sure it is tough. That's a lot of processes that you got to write to get two separate 10 million companies.
I don't think the processes are. Once the process is written once, that's it.
Right. But that's the hard part.
Is
Writing it once to where it's so well written and so well enforced that it does that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or is that just a great market to be in right now?
No.
It is. Have you seen all the Surf Pro locations? Holy shit.
Well, that's like flood damage, restoration. I mean, it's everything.
Damage. It's any damage.
Yeah.
And restoration.
Yep.
They're making some jack.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
I think it worked.
I thought about doing that one time.
A company built off of great processes.
Yeah, I thought about doing it one time.
That's how important processes
are. You
are.
can buy a Surf Pro.
Yeah, you can. You can buy in any franchise like that.
Yeah, they're a franchise.
The thing is, like, some of those fast food companies, they had, like, some of the most amazing processes, like McDonald's. Like, if ever McDonald's was ran exactly by the processes, they'd be completely different. Like, it's the enforcing part that gets McDonald's and other fast food places.
Yeah, they know how much a hamburger costs them to make in the half a penny.
It's one thing to write it. It's another thing to have the processes in place to enforce the processes, right? And the team in place to enforce the processes.
Yeah.
So that's a guy who's mastered sales and marketing, hiring and training, branding and leadership.
I would be interested to talk to someone like that about how do you keep all of the people in line. Like, I can understand every process.
I can connect you with all these people, right?
I'm not going to fucking Apex. I know I know what it takes to get work done, and I know what it takes to put a roof on, and I know what it takes to get like all the deals. What does it take to keep 200 people at 5 different locations all doing the exact same things all the time? That's interesting.
Processes.
I mean,
and leadership.
I mean, is it? Does it have to? Does it go down to the nitty gritty, as in it has to be in this sort of blue collar area because they're known for hard work and dedication and loyalty? Like, does it go that far?
Maybe, depending on the business.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, depending on the business.
Does it go that deep?
Yeah, maybe.
That's what she said.
No. No, it does not go that deep.
No. Wrap us up, Mitch.
Yeah, we're running long on this one. So,
it's okay,
guys,
it was good.
If this show brought you value, if it made you think about things in a different way, please do us a favor and help share this show with somebody else who might be wanting to hear it. We don't make any money from this show. So, because of that, we ask you to share the show. Dave and I do this for fun. We commit a little over an hour every week to this show. Austin commits like more than an hour because he has to listen to it.
Like 7%.
An hour and 20 minutes.
And then he has to go through and edit everything. So
don't babble, Mitch.
Until next time, guys, we will catch up with you later. Share the damn show.
Love you guys.
We'll see ya.